Lionel Messi is in India. That is the biggest sporting news in the last few days, not just in India but globally. Despite that, me being a newsman, I couldn't really get myself to get hooked to this particular event. He also came to Delhi. I had the opportunity to probably cover it as a journalist or even go there as a fan, but I couldn't get myself to do that. That's not to say I'm not a Lionel Messi fan. Those of you who know me or have watched my coverage of various sporting events will know that I am a die-hard Lionel Messi fan. Despite all that, I just could not see myself attending one of these events that Lionel Messi was a part of. Why? Why is that? Because I couldn't help but notice the contrast that we are seeing at the moment between India celebrating Lionel Messi, and on the same time around that you have a parallel of Indian football down in the dumps. That's what I'm going to put, that contrasting picture in front of you, so that you know how it was very difficult for me to see what was happening, even though my favorite footballer was in India. Rough estimates suggest that the organizers, the promoters, private entities that brought Lionel Messi down to India have spent somewhere in the region of 120 to 130 crores for this 3-day tour that Lionel Messi had. That money involves, that 120-30 crore is money towards Lionel Messi's fee, his team's fee, the cost involved in operations, his private jet that got him to India and then made him travel around India and then took him back. All of those costs put together, rough estimate is around 120 to 130 crore. How is that money recovered? How is it that the promoter is recovering that money? That money is being recovered from various entities. You have corporate entities, companies that have paid money to become sponsors of this event. You've had individuals who've paid money to get selfies with Lionel Messi. It was priced at around 10 lakh rupees to have a meet and greet, just to shake his hand and get a picture with him, was 10 lakh rupees per person. Those were sold. Of course, people bought tickets, 10,000, 12,000 rupees, multiple people in 4 cities to be inside the stadium. Money was recovered from there. Governments paid a lot of money at the state level to be partners in this event. So some politicians could be on the field, some politicians could have a kick about. That money that the government paid, where did that money come from? From the taxpayers' money. And they spent it to make it a private event of theirs. That's how the promoters recovered their money. Nothing against the promoter. Of course, the promoter's job is to do business. They're doing that. But that's where the problem lies. Why do I say the contrast was very visible, that made it uncomfortable for people like me who follow Indian football to be part of this event? Because we are here in this time where Indian football is going through its worst phase. Indian football's top league, it's called the ISL. Every country, small countries, even go in neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all of these small countries. I'm not even talking about top tier or second tier footballing nations. Every country has its national league. India's national league is suspended. There are close to 300 Indian footballers that are jobless, that live off football. Why? Because there are no takers for India's national league. I spoke about corporates. No corporate is ready to put money there. I spoke about individuals. No individuals are stepping up, paying 10 lakhs or even were ready to pay 500 rupees to be part of the Indian National League and go and watch a game. No government, who are paying in crores to be partners in a Messi event, have stepped up to help it out. In fact, people who are looking after the National League even approached the central government asking for some sort of help. Even there, they got no help. They were told, no, manage. We can't be bailing you out. We can't give you a bailout package. Manage. So right now, we don't even have a national league. No takers. You know what the National League is asking? It's asking for about 30 crore, 35 odd crore for every year to run a national league. And nobody, not even one person, has picked up that tender document. For over a decade, Reliance supported it, but because of losses, they pulled out. Now nobody, no individuals, government, state, national level, corporates, nobody is even picking up that document to apply for a tender about 30, 35, 38 crore, whatever it is, to have a national league. You know, I spoke about that 120, 130 crore. You could have had 4 seasons of national league, your premier footballing competition. No takers for that. Forget about that. Your second tier, which is now called the I-League, they also are putting out their tender. No takers for I-League, the second division as well. No takers. Nobody wants to have anything to do with it. That's where Indian football finds itself in. That 120 odd crore could have given us 4 years of some sort of football. I'm not taking the blame away from the structure. I know the structure at a national level in Indian football is flawed, but that needs fixing. That needs someone to step up and find a model, whether it's a corporate, government, whoever, that is sustainable. But nobody is showing interest, and that is why I say there is a huge contrast. I'll now get to the other contrast, haves and haves not. Indian football team is ranked 142 in the world. It is one of the worst rankings they've achieved in the last decade. A few years ago, they had cracked inside 100. They've now at 142. Many third world countries, many of them across the globe are ahead of India. Recently, at the AFC Asian Cup, which is, forget about FIFA World Cup. We keep talking about when India is going to play the FIFA World Cup. Forget about that. I'm talking about your continental championship. As you know, Asia is probably the weakest in terms of competition. If you look at different continents, it's the weakest Asia in terms of the footballing standards. So the continental championship of Asia is AFC Asian Cup. India has not even qualified for that. 24 teams within just the Asian continent qualify for the continental championship. You know, a step below the FIFA World Cup. India has not even qualified for that this time. And out of the last 4 editions of that tournament, India had qualified thrice. So we were in a slightly better position 5, 7, 10, 15 years ago. We were going down the rabbit hole. And it's not stopping, and nobody is paying attention to that. Your ranking is at 142. You can't forget FIFA World Cup. You can't even qualify for your continental championship. That's where the Indian team is. Recently, you've lost to teams like Bangladesh. You've lost to teams like Singapore. Nothing against these countries. They are small little countries, but you know what? They still have a structure in place. There was a time where India, if not at the Asian level, there was a time India would dominate the Asian level. After that, you dominated the SAF level. Now, teams at the SAF level are also beating you. It's probably the worst moment in Indian football. Of course, there's a lot of corruption allegations, how the game is being run at the All India Football Federation, but nobody is stepping up to even stop that. We are aiming of organizing Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games. There's a lot of mess in Indian football. Nobody is looking after that. No politician is stepping up. Lots of politicians are there to click pictures with Lionel Messi, have their kids there, celebrities are there, corporates are there, individuals are paying 10 lakh or 12,000. But the sport of football, that's been ignored in country. Remember, football doesn't exist because of Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi exists because of football. And that's why I say, and this is a larger commentary on Indians and their approach towards sport. I've often said that Indians really don't love their sport. We are not a sporting country. We love sporting stars. We are in love with stars, not the sport. And that is the reason why we are lagging behind. Cricket's the only sport where you can hold your head high. That too a sport where limited countries play, where at least you're at the top level. Everywhere else, you're fighting the system. Some of our athletes that do well at the Olympic level is not because of this system, it's in spite of this system. That's where you find yourself. I mean, nothing again, as I said, I'm a Messi fan. Messi was here, great. But again, private promoters wanted to bring Messi, great. Maybe something else could have been done. I don't know. If Lionel Messi was here for 3 days, maybe he could have spent half an hour with India's under 17 boys team, which is doing very well. Maybe India's under 23 boys team, which is doing very well in recent tournaments, upcoming. Imagine half an hour they got to spend with Lionel Messi. Not playing, but just few tips with him. Maybe in these 3 days you could have found time for the Indian women's team. That's, by the way, qualified for the Continental Championship, with the men's team could not. Women's team has. They have a chance of qualifying for the Women's FIFA World Cup. That chance is there. still exist if they do well at the Asian level. Maybe that women's team could have spent some time with Lionel Messi. Maybe that could have made a difference. Maybe in all of this scheduling of celebrities playing football and their kids getting pictures clicked and politicians coming and felicitating him and those photo ops and people getting those selfies for Instagram and social media. Maybe in all of this, maybe we could have thought about Indian football. You let me know what you think of Messi's tour to India. Leave a comment in the video. Give us a like on the video if you're enjoying the content that we bring to you. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today. Nikhil Naz signing off.